Because only when you are willing and ready to lose everything, only then you are allowed by nature to reach the pinnacle of your existence. So we'll talk about a few critical things which we must all know about Buddha's life. The day he was born on this Poornima, a great astrologer came to the palace, told his father that your son, Siddhartha, either there are two possibilities in his life. Either he'll become a great king of this land, or he will become the great beggar of this land. Two vast possibilities, either the great king or the great beggar. At that moment, his father and his mother could not understand this phrase, the great beggar. So they were very perplexed and scared because they were king and queen. They didn't want their son to become a beggar. They did everything possible in their control so that Buddha does not see any form of suffering in life. They made sure that Buddha is all the time engaged in, what is the word? Indulgence. Of all kinds of indulgence. They made sure that no human suffering should ever come to him, lest he might develop vairagya bhav. You understand vairagya bhav? Dispassionate about life, so that he should not become dispassionate. The bhav of vairagya should not arise in him. So they were preparing him to become the great king. Buddha was a great archer also. His training was in such a way that he will become the future king of this land. But his father did not realize many a times, actually most of the time, no, actually all the time, these beggars have much more influence on the well-being of humanity than these great kings. What they thought was a beggar was somebody who was going to influence the destiny of humanity for centuries to come. This story happened 2,500 years ago. We are still seeing the positive outcome and impact of this. We're all glad that he chose to become a great beggar. Because only when you are willing and ready to lose everything, only then you are allowed by nature to reach the pinnacle of your existence. And kingship is not the pinnacle of your existence. It's a title or a power that you gain from outside. But enlightenment is the pinnacle of your existence because that is not being given to you by anybody. It's not dependent on anything. It's your own attainment. Buddha chose that path. So this is what happened when he took birth. Significant story. Because, why significant? We all have these two possibilities, either to become great kings or the great beggars. Scale could be different. Please note this. Scale could be different of your kingship, queenship, or your beggarship. But what you choose is the question here. That's the symbolic thing of Buddha's birth. At a certain point in his life, he chose to be the greatest beggar, leaving everything. And precisely when he was 29. Question for all of us. What is it that we are choosing and running after? Some kind of kingly, queenly attainments, or some kind of enlightenment? The highest possibility of human existence. What is it that we are moving towards? What is it that we are choosing? What is it that through our thoughts, words, and actions we are moving towards? What is it? And there are only these two possibilities. There is no third path here. These are the only two ways. We must choose wisely. Then the second thing happened. On the same day of this month's Poornima, at the age of 29, Buddha renounced everything. And for 6 years, he did intense tapasya for 6 long years. And then on this very day, finally he attained what we call as moksha or nirvana. Again, something very significant. For 6 long years, Buddha was very forceful to attain this. He did everything possible in a human incarnation. He did everything that was possible in a human incarnation to attain this state called nirvana. But he could not get it. He did not achieve it. And finally, after 6 long years of tapasya, something happened and he realized that I have been pushing way too hard. And the path may not be on the extreme. The path could actually be in the middle. So he restrained himself from exerting too much of pressure. He took a pause. Now there's another beautiful point here. I see a lot of sadhaks and a lot of people, lay people also. Either in their life, they're putting too much of pressure or struggle to achieve something. Even their career, jobs, relationship, etc. They're putting way too much of struggle to achieve a destination. And then there are a second set of people who become lazy in life. They stop putting any effort into what they want to attain in life. And Buddha said, none of these paths will work. If you leave everything and become lazy, and the word that we use, the other word for this we use is tamasa. If you enter too much into tamas, you will not attain it, because the mind will start to become dull. Energy will start to become dull. And if you exert too much of pressure, then you will become obsessed, too much of rajas. So at one end of the spectrum is obsession, which Buddha was obsessed about this. The other spectrum is this laziness. And that's when Buddha realized, no, actually, the path is somewhere in the middle. Where with what does it mean for all of us? What does it mean for all of us in practical terms? That when you exert a lot of pressure in whatever you want to attain, do you every day sit back, take a pause, reflect, do swadhyaya, make notes, talk to yourself, and understand the patterns of your own thinking and emotions? Do you spend that pause moment? Or you're constantly running after the so-called attainment, whatever that attainment is, material, spiritual, whatever that is? Buddha said the path is in the middle. When you exert certain amount of pressure, then you take a pause, come back into the moment and see what is it that you're trying to do. See how is your mind behaving. See if there are any tricks the mind is playing. See the direction that you're choosing and question yourself why you are doing what you are doing. Let me repeat that. In that pause, you come back to your own self and question yourself why I am doing what I'm doing. And many times this why is very profound. But you need the pause moment to reflect on this. That's what Buddha said, the middle path. A perfect balance between the pause and the exertion of pressure or effort. So when effort and pause come together, in that moment when Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree, the great Bodhi tree, he realized the middle path, and that's exactly when the mind opened up, the heart opened up. The realization of the truth and the true state became Buddha's living experience. I told you, everything about Buddha's life is very significant for all of us. So this was the story of his attaining enlightenment. And then after 45 years of work, which was not as pressure, but as an outpouring of his realization, he kept talking, walking, and initiating people on the path. And then one day, Buddha realized that it is his day of leaving this incarnation. The time has come when his work is over. The body must get united with the Panchabhutas back again. And on that day, the very last day of Buddha's life, he lied down actually, in a forest under the sal trees. Look at this again very carefully, it's very beautiful. He is now entering into various phases of dhyana, so that finally the breath and the awareness starts to leave the body. And he dropped this mortal existence. While the process was going on, he opened his eyes slightly, asked his closest disciple Ananda, is there anybody who wants to ask me the last question, because now, Ananda, I will not come back. Ananda was, of course, in deep devotion and love with Buddha. Ananda could not say any word. Only the tears of pain were flowing from his eyes, because this is the very last moment. Ananda could not speak anything. But exactly at that moment, Buddha was about to close his eyes. Somebody shouted, Bhante, he said. Bhante is a Pali word for the enlightened one. Bhante. Before you go, Bhante, I always wanted to get initiated into your dharma, your teachings. For a variety of reasons, I could never do that, Bhante. This is the last moment. I want to get initiated by you, Buddha. Please imagine the scene. The body is weak. The body is in extreme pain and suffering, because there's been some poison got into the body. It's the very last moment when the breath is about to leave the body. Look at the compassion of Buddha. First he opens his eyes and asks, Ananda, is there any last question by anybody? And then he calls this man, asks Ananda to prepare for initiation. And before leaving the breath, Buddha initiates this last disciple directly. The name of this disciple was Subhuddha. So Buddha became the last disciple to get initiated by Buddha himself. And now Buddha is finally closing his eyes. But look at the compassion. Again, in the moment he opened his eyes and asked Ananda, one last question, Ananda, if you have. Or if anybody has in this audience, because there were a lot of monks and nuns and lay people who were around giving final goodbye to Buddha. Look at the compassion of this being. And then Ananda finally gathered some courage and asked Buddha, any last words for us? And that's when Buddha said, impermanence, Ananda. Impermanence. I give you the secret of impermanence, Ananda. Everything that is born will die. Everything that comes together will disintegrate. Everything that has some qualities will end. Ananda. The principle of life is impermanence. Your body, Ananda, is impermanent. It's changing every moment, Ananda. Your thoughts are impermanent, Ananda. Your thoughts are constantly changing. Your emotions are also impermanent, Ananda, because your emotions are also constantly changing. Whatever is changing, Ananda, is impermanent. Ananda, so, Buddha, is there anything permanent here? What we are trying to attain, is that permanent? Buddha said, Ananda, only you are permanent. Ananda did not get it. But many years later, Ananda finally got it. That who in me is permanent. Ananda realized that the one who's constantly watching inside me, there's somebody sitting inside all of us who is always watching our thoughts. When you think of a thought, who registers it? There's somebody sitting inside who watches your thought. There's somebody sitting inside who watches every emotion that arises in you. There's somebody sitting inside who, if it wishes, watches the breath in you. There's somebody sitting inside who knows everything about you. That somebody sitting inside is also awake when you are asleep. This is the same somebody who sees you in the night watching dreams. This is the same something inside you who sees you going into deep sleep in a night. At that time, no cognition is functioning. But this inner self, which Buddha says is permanent, this inner self keeps watching you going into the deep dreamless sleep also. And this is the same inner self when you wake up in the morning, it declares that I slept like a baby, I did not have any dream. This permanent self inside you watches everything. Ananda realized that. And on that day, Ananda attained the truth, the nirvana, the moksha. This was Buddha's last teaching on impermanence. So what do we do now? How do we make it our own realization? Well, we know this as a philosophy, as a theory, but we are still entangled with the world of objects and events and people. We're still entangled with our own thoughts and emotions, and we tend to take them very seriously, as if every thought has a certain value, every emotion has a certain value. But here Buddha is saying, they all keep coming and going like a train. Like the wind, thoughts and emotion come, and like the wind it goes. You can't hold them. So what should we do? How should we reach to this level? Buddha is amazing. I love Buddha. He's given exact formulas for everything. He's just not given theories and philosophies and teachings. He's given exact formulas. In his teaching, Buddha talked about 4 divine states of existence. And he said, every seeker should try and be established in these divine states. I'll not go into the details of the 4. I'll just start with the first one. And the first state, he said, we call them 4 Brahma Viharas. I'll just name them and then talk about just one. The first Brahma Vihara the divine state in which we must be established, is Maitri, sacred friendliness. And he said, once you are established in that, the second state will come, emerge, is Karuna, compassion. And then he said, when the Karuna comes, there is a danger that you will become overly serious, looking at the dukkha of the world. So you need to generate mudita, which is joyfulness in your heart. Otherwise, you'll yourself become depressed. And then he said the fourth state, then attain the fourth state. And the fourth state is equanimity. In all situations of life, with all kinds of people in life, try and be equanimous. Sammata. Let's come back to the first, which is the practical thing. How should we be established in this path? If you're able to cultivate the first state itself, which is Maitri, sacred friendship, the path will open up. The stability will come. The movement of the minds will start to reduce itself. Magical things will start to happen in our life if we just try to establish the first principle, Maitri. What does it really mean? Are you friends with your own self, first of all? Do you talk to yourself? Or it's just non-stop mental chatter keeps happening in your head? Mental chatter is noise, not talk. It's not conversation. It's a fight happening in the mind between a variety of thoughts. We call that chatter, not talk, not conversation. Number 2. Do you really invest your time and energy in cultivating Maitri, sacred friendship with people around? And sacred friendship means where there is no expectation of anything in return. I am truly, genuinely interested in the well-being of these people whom I consider my friends. But in reality, most of the time, look into your own heart. If your known people, if your friends make some progress, there is a slight jealousness that you feel in your heart. There is some kind of FOMO that you start to feel in your heart. There is something like left behind. Oh, they have attained it. My friends have got it. I am not getting it. I am left behind. There is no appreciation for their well-being or what they have attained in life. There is a constant competition you have with your friends. Buddha is not talking about that kind of friendship. The real friendship, Maitri, is when I rejoice if my friend attains something. I'm truly praying for my friends to really achieve the best in life, to walk this path. I don't force, I don't judge, but I'm always there for them as a support so that they walk the path. You do things for these people you call friends without expecting anything in return. You don't say that I did this for you, but now I need it, you're not supporting me. You don't think like that. That's not true friendship. That's a contract. Buddha is not talking about contracts. Only if we are able to cultivate this level of Maitri in our heart, only then we will be able to consider ourselves as sincere practitioners. At some places, Buddha also said, no amount of scripture reading or practices will help you. Buddha said that literally. No amount of practices or spiritual scriptures reading or this or that, or therapies will help you. No amount of that on the path. Unless you purify your heart for this Maitri bhav, nothing will work. This is the essence. So for Buddha, spirituality is not is not makeup from the outside. For Buddha, it is real deep inner work, where you drop your fears, drop your patterns, drop your conditioned mind. You see the behavior of your own conditioned mind, and you just don't see it. You support it by establishing, cultivating this level of Maitri, friendship with people around, without having any fear that you will lose anything. Because remember, we all came naked and empty-handed. We didn't bring anything with us. And whatever we think we own is also impermanent, remember that. So nobody can snatch anything away from you. And this deep Maitri bhav you are cultivating not to help others. Of course you help others. But in return it actually helps you strengthen, stabilize your own spiritual path. So you are the beneficiary of this friendship that you extend to the world actually. So we need to come out of our mathematical minds, of the unnecessary calculations that we keep doing, and start to offer, give something of us to fellow beings around. So to me, that's the essence of Buddha Poornima, and that's the essence of Buddha, and we're all blessed that we're able to talk about it, hear about it, we're able to meditate on it, we're able to feel it in our heart, and I'm sure we will be able to cultivate it also in our heart. Om Buddhaya Namah. Om Buddhaya Namah.